Hi, my name is Janet Molbeck. I'm the executive director of Interweave. We're a small nonprofit here in New Jersey working to support spirituality for daily living, an integrated spirituality that nurtures wellness, the common good, and your spiritual life. Each year, we have a telethon. It's a way of keeping that work going. If you didn't have a chance to tune in, we hope you'll take advantage of this second opportunity. We want to thank you for supporting our work with 12 wonderful conversations about nurturing hope through prayer and practice, art and action. Thank you in advance for being there for Interweave and for the spiritual life in raising up the importance of hope. What we say here at Interweave is, let hope live in you. Thank you. Happy holiday.
To go.
8 hours down, 4 hours to go. And in this 8th hour, we have a wonderful hour for you. And our conversation is about nurturing hope through art and spirituality. And we have 3 really special artists to share on that subject. I'm trying to get everybody into there's my friend Diane, and there's my friend Jody. There she is. All right. Thank you for coming. And just let me say a little bit about how wonderful you are. Not one, but 3 good friends and 3 very good colleagues, 3 wonderful interweavers in not just because they're interweavers supporting interweave, but in the way that they live their lives and see the world. Um, Lisa Brown, Jody Pfeiffer, Diane Gallo. Thank you for coming. Um, and let me tell you, Jody Pfeiffer is a worker in pastels, correct? And as is Diane Gallo, a worker does also pastel work, correct, Diane?
Yes.
And they both recently um took home, I don't know how you say this, the New Jersey Senior Award for their work in pastels. Diane on the professional level and Jody on the how do you not amateur, how do you say that?
Non-professional.
Non-professional.
But you can call me unprofessional.
I never called you unprofessional. Lisa, I would never call her unprofessional. Remember, it's the 8th hour. It's been a long day, but I love you and I would never call you unprofessional. She's non-professional. But actually, this award bumps you into the professional level. So along with Diane. So we're very grateful to have you. And I'll say more about, as we go, the conversation you're also multifaceted. And we also have Lisa Brown with us, who is also a longtime interweaver. Lisa has done many, many courses for us over the years with her artwork. She has a company which is Art as Therapy. And just nod if I'm saying things correctly, because I'm going to start to. These are all my good friends, so they know I mix things up on a good day. After talking for 8 hours straight, I'm going to need your help to get through. And Lisa is really her mixed media, I would say, is her medium, correct?
Yes, and watercolors.
Mixed medium and watercolors. That's why I need you to and continues to do classes for us. Often Lisa and I collaborate on some classes together, and I'm thinking of I have many fond memories. For example, I'm thinking of soul cards when you did soul cards. You've done in many ways. These three artists are core to Interweave. So thank you for all for being here today. Um, so we're going to jump around a little bit, but I mentioned your pictures, and I don't know if Lisa we're going to be able to show your picture. I was trying to see if I could do that. But that we'll work on that. But hopefully by the end of the hour, we'll be able to hold up Lisa's picture because Lisa is out of state and not in her home. She's visiting and she's kind enough to come to this virtual telethon from afar. So Jody and Diane, would you
There they go.
Oh my
That's it.
goodness.
Yay.
Yay. So here is an example of Lisa's work. And actually, this is kind of signature program for Lisa and her studio and her company. This is Tear Me Away, and it's sort of quintessential Lisa. I mean, you with the tearing away, something is happening. It's a beautiful course. You want to say something about the Tear Away?
Yeah.
Tear Me
Yeah,
Away course?
So basically, I start with a theme. We do it twice a month, and I give them the clients a theme. We work on that theme. They either use the magazines as color, like the flower. That's about being a flower. What would you be? What does your heart center look like? The one with the many pieces is about family. It's a family quilt, and the other one is about love enhanced. So I've done different workshops with those themes, and then they create a collage, and then we do some journaling with that collage, and that's basically my programs.
That is, it's heartfelt work. That's what I'm going to say.
Yes.
You have an opportunity to take a Lisa Brown course, and we're going to talk about it more about your process as the conversation unfolds. Chris, I'm going to ask you to take down the screen a minute, and Jody and Diane, I'm going to ask you to hold up your award-winning pieces.
Okay.
If you have them with you.
Yeah, I got one right here.
Oh, how convenient.
Get it onto a screen.
Love it.
There it
Wow,
is.
that is fabulous. They're so beautiful. They're all so beautiful. And Lisa's flowers, and now the more flowers.
We all have hope, I think, with
I
flowers.
Yes.
think there's a lot of
Hope.
hope in these pictures. Thank you,
hope.
ladies. There's a picture. You know what they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. There's
And the color red is also a hopeful color.
wow.
It's sanguine and it's loud, but it's also, I think of it as a life force.
Wow.
Everything seems to end up with a little red in it.
Yeah.
Everything
Red is
you
good.
do
Red is good.
has some red.
Wow, that is fantastic. Thank you so much. And congratulations to you both. Um so having had a little peek of and by the way, I know the body, if we were to have an art show right now, the pictures would from Lisa to Diane to Jody would reach, I don't know, from Summit to maybe another, it might be go out of state. There are a lot of pieces of art.
This
They
is a pile of failures.
Oh well, no failures, no failures. I don't
Not yet successful.
Not yet. Still evolving. Still evolving.
Except the good thing about pastels is you can brush it off and use the paper again, so you do not waste.
Oh wow.
It's very forgiving, which is
Yep.
important.
Which I have done.
Mhm.
So I'd like you, you all, if you wouldn't mind sharing with me a little bit about how your your art is uncovering, giving, how does it give you a sense of the spiritual? How do you discover the spiritual in your art, whether it's the art itself or the process of creating the art? So whoever feels so moved
The
Uh,
start.
I,
to
I can
start.
start. I think when I'm in the art process, I feel like I lose myself, and I feel like I'm hopefully expressing a feeling that other people will relate to when they look at it when I finish. I don't always know where I'm going when I start, so sometimes I don't. It's one of the advantages of doing collage is sometimes I don't know exactly where it's going to end up. And when it does, I hope it expresses the feelings that I've tried to put into it.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Lisa.
I do a lot of my work from photographs, and the photographs that I take or ask permission to use from friends who take beautiful photographs, um, they are the things that inspire me, and then I use that inspiration to translate from the photography to the pastel to the paper. Because pastels are just basically like chalk, but you put them on paper. Um, and in the process, it never comes out exactly the same, but that's because, you know, you're putting your stamp on it and you're kind of getting, say it's a photograph of trees, you get lost in the trees. And what comes out is usually, I think, better than what you started with. So in that process, there's literally a transformation that not only happens on the paper, but it even happens inside you.
That's interesting. I find it very difficult to work from photographs. I work from life,
Mhm.
which is why I do a lot of still life, because I can have it right there in front of me. And it's true, it never comes out the way I planned for it to come out. I spend a lot of time losing myself in the rendering, the actual drawing, the observation
Mhm.
of what I'm drawing. And I really lose track of time, you know, when it's going well. And it really does evolve. I can't say, and it's a wonderful, I think, combination of intellect, because you have to develop skill, but then intuition that just sometimes, again, this amaryllis I did, it just needed a dash of something bright, and it wasn't, you know, the right color. It wasn't, and I just went yellow and
And it
it
worked.
turned out. So
It was it
I
was
can't always
interesting what
explain it.
you said about the fact that you don't work from photographs because actually, Jody, you used to be a
Yeah,
professional photographer.
yeah,
So
I
I
know, I
find that
know.
kind of fascinating that you are like, I don't work from photographs when you used to be a professional photographer. And um, one of the things that there's so many things that all of you impress me with, but one of the things Jody impresses me with is that there was a long time that this was your medium, and you one day you just put down your camera
I did.
and you picked up a brush.
I did. Chalk.
Chuck.
Yeah.
Chalk, excuse me. Chalk. I stand
Yeah.
corrected.
Mhm.
And such a testament to you know, you have to have a kind of a an improvisation or an evolutionary spirit to be an artist. How was that for you to move out of one medium into another?
It was great. It was really good. It was uh I had a dark room, and I used to love it. And I also had a community of photographers that I was part of, the Femme Fatales.
I
Mhm.
remember.
And there was a lot of collaboration and mutual support, very loving community. And um, the public darkroom went away for various reasons. I had my own darkroom. I missed the support, and I just found that I needed something more immediate than the darkroom. You know, it's a long process in the darkroom, and I wanted something more immediate. Years ago in school, I liked to paint. So I thought, well, let me try that. And I loved it. And I just gave away all my equipment, and that was the end of it. I just never looked back, and I'm very, very happy.
Wow, incredible. I don't know, there's a bravery about moving from one medium and to another.
And they're pretty different too. So
Pretty different.
I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but what the heck, what I have to lose?
According to the state of New Jersey, you're doing very well. And according to my eyes, you're doing very well. It's interesting that you mention community, an artistic community. So I'm going to move to Diane and then to Lisa with the same. We hadn't actually planned on talking about this, but when you mentioned the femme fatales, I know, Diane, for years you work with a very beloved friend of ours as well, who was Don Kuhn, working creating those Art on the Hill shows. Lisa showed it on those Art on the Hill shows, and so did Jody. So, what does that? I hope you still have a sense of community with other artists, and what do you, and what does that do for you, Diane, and for your art?
Yeah, the art community, it has, I have different art communities, but in a sense, they're all related. And they really, besides just being friends, good friends, when you're working together, you inspire each other. And so, it's really nice to be able to, look at somebody else's stuff and say, oh, I like that. Or they look at you and say, oh, what, change that just a tiny bit, because you learn from each other. And because we're all artists, we respect each other. We value their judgment. We value their opinions. And it just makes it, what's the word I'm looking for? That community and camaraderie, when you're all working together, somehow makes everything happen, to me, better. And I find it more productive. And that's one of the reasons why I still go to the art center, because there's a community there that I work with, and it just seems to help the things flow for me. And community, obviously, we're all involved with different communities and other things, but as we all know, community is so important no matter what we're doing, that in terms of the art community, it's just another wonderful way to connect with people and not only share your craft, but learn more.
It's fabulous, Diane. I'm that's so rich. All the greats, right? The Impressionists. There's always a community that forms
Right.
to explore and to create. Lisa, in your classes, you're actually having that sense of community, and uh and through I'm trying to the Creative Institute.
Yeah, it's the Project Insight is the
Project
institute.
Insight. Thank you very much for
Right.
helping me to get it
Right.
right. You're
But
having
yeah,
a creative community as well. So whether you are sharing in a class or sharing with other people who are trying to use art, you use art therapeutically. How is that important to have a community that is around you to do that for you?
well, in the programs that I teach, it's not art to make beautiful art. It's art to get out some expression and some feelings. And then when we journal and share with each other, we learn more about each other and understand that other people have the same fears and this, it gives that community of we all have been through different things and lived a life running through, deaths of friends, deaths of people we know. Uh, and when we get to share how that feels to us, I think then the community feels like they they can talk about it with a understanding that everybody, will listen and not criticize what they're feeling. So with with the journaling piece and the sharing piece, we really get a chance to go a little deeper as a friendship. And since we're online, that is more important to go a little deeper, because it's harder to do online than it is when you can go out and have a cup of coffee with somebody.
And the art really is almost like a focal point that's
Right.
helping you to have a voice to speak to your inner life. I've seen you do that. It's very profound. Thank you. Um, so and when you all Lisa's talking about how that the process that she's sharing with people is uncovering spirituality as you're creating art um at your kitchen table, in your living room, maybe at the art studio. How is it, how is it there a sense of that how is that sacred for you? How are you uncovering the sacred or experiencing the sacred in your art? And I'm going to pick on Jody now.
Oh, experiencing the sacred. Well, you kind of lose track of things. For me, I lose track of things. Um, doesn't happen all the time, but when things are going well, it doesn't mean that the work turns out great. But there's just this process of concentration, and I suppose musicians and writers have the same experience when they're, or in a zone. Um, you've just, maybe runners too. I'm not a runner. But it's like I'm completely within myself, but I'm also out of myself. I don't know if that makes sense or not. And unaware of what's going on. I mean, my husband will say something. I don't know. I don't even know he's talking to me. I just, I'm here. I suppose that's kind of a sacred meditation type thing. The surroundings have to be just right. You need a safe environment. And the art classes I've always been in, the one thing I'll say is they've been very supportive and safe. I've had one or two teachers in school who were, I wouldn't say bullies, but told you what you were doing wrong forcefully. And that doesn't work for me. So if I'm with people where there's trust, and I can just, lose myself, and that time just goes by, and whoop, then suddenly it's over. Here I am, I'm back.
It sounds a lot like meditation. It really actually
Yeah.
does. The be here now. Diane, what are your thoughts on the subject of art and spirituality? How is your art connecting you to your spiritual self?
For one thing, it takes me out of the crazy world. Um, there's so much going on around us all the time. And when I'm working and in doing my art, as Jody said, the time flies. You lose yourself. You don't pay attention to anything else around you. You're just totally focused on what your hand and your mind are doing and your eye are doing. And to me, it's almost like a way of connecting to a higher plane. Um, and that to me that would be the spiritual side of art. But I just wanted to also mention something that was said before about journaling that you do, Lisa. One of the first teachers I had for pastels would have us journal before we started a painting, and she would say, what is your inspiration? What is your goal? What are you trying to show? What are you trying to do? And we used to literally keep notebooks, and it was a great thing. And then she left. Unfortunately, she left, and we all kind of lost that process. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to go back to it, because it kind of helps you to really get in touch with what you're doing, definitely on a deeper level. And that to me is, working on something. Then if it turns out to be something that's beautiful, it feels like a gift. And it's a gift that somehow has worked through your hands and your mind and your eye. So that to me would be the spiritual side of it.
That journaling is a great idea.
I know.
I,
I should do it again.
yeah.
No other
knows?
yeah, Lisa knows. No other teacher did it. And it was the very first teacher I had for pastels, and that was what we did. And she would always say, "What is your intention? Tell me your intention, before you actually started something."
I've done it backwards, but it's a more negative thing. When I've had something that hasn't worked out, I've looked at it and I say to myself, now, what were you trying to do there? And kind of in a reverse way, but that's a lot more positive. I really like that idea.
Yeah, I should get back to it.
I really hear such, a metaphor for life when the three of you were talking about creating art. Oh, I have to put my intention forth. Oh, it wasn't perfect, but that's okay. Oh, I need a safe space. These are all things about how do I carve out a sacred life for myself as well. Like the rules of art are the rules of life, living.
Right.
Because if you're going to live life well, you're going to live artfully, you're going to live artistically, you're going to live in an aesthetically pleasing way, in a way. So this brings me to I know to the artist's way, which many of us have picked up. As a someone who writes. I have there it is. I'll hold it up so that people can really see it. It's
The artist way.
Julia Cameron's
Cameron.
artist
Julia
way.
Cameron. Yeah.
And she has a few other books, but this is her, the quintessential book, and it has impacted a lot of people. And I have to say, I still use. And Diane's bringing it up because of the journaling piece, which she highly recommends. So I know, Jody, you've done some way of the artist's way, excuse me. And what are your thoughts? And then over to Lisa.
Well, I have to confess, it's a 12-week program and I never got through all 12 weeks. But I've gotten through 3 weeks and I've loved it. And I would love to get through 12 weeks because I think you just dig a little deeper and form those wonderful habits. I think my problem is that I always tried to do it as a solo. And when I read the back of the book recently, she says, form a pod. It's very hard to do it by yourself. So I'd love to find a group and form a pod. 4 people is her recommended. And one of the things I really like about it,
an interweave class evolving from
yeah, that would be great.
so
She says, don't let the perfect stand in the way of the good. Modify the program as you need to, which is right up my alley. So I think it would be fabulous.
what do you still use from what was your takeaway from
Well, one of the recommendations, I believe it's in week 2, is that you have a weekly, I don't know if this is her term or not, aesthetic experience. It does not have to be your art. Go to a good movie, do something to enrich your life aesthetically. And I try to do that. We went to, and it doesn't have to be a big deal. We went to a simulcast of a Metropolitan Opera last week or the week before, which was wonderful. Listen to some people playing music, play a record, or not record, that's how old I am. Listen, listen to music, or something where you just like put yourself in that place for some time. And I just find that to be a wonderful habit. I would miss it if I didn't do it. I don't do it the same day every week. I don't, but it's a really good practice.
It is it and I don't always do it, but when I do it, I'm happy I did it. And actually, Diane, I know you haven't done this, but you do that. These are kind of natural things that we do to support our artistic life. Lisa, you have a connection with this work as well, The Artist's Way.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to say is that there's a new book out called Your Brain on Art, and it talks about not just doing art, but looking at art, not just dancing, but watching dancing, all the arts, and how it also does the same kind of uplift just to watch those things, and that's what we need more of. So it's a really interesting book. But I think for me, um, for those of you who don't know, I lost a son. He was 23, overdosed. And when I could put those feelings into my art, I was, if I didn't have that, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know where those feelings would have gone. So I think, it's also important that the artwork allows me to speak my sadness, my happiness, all my emotions, and not everybody's going to look at it and see it the same way, but at least I've gotten those feelings out of my system. And that's part of I think the high of doing art is that you can get those feelings out, and, you know, whether people get it or not, it's not important.
No.
And I thank you for sharing that, Lisa. I think Diane and I have both been at a show where you showed a piece of work that was directly related to the death of your son, and it was a gift. It was a gift to the community, and it's still deeply appreciated. The memory of it's right here. Um, it, you you sharing that kind of brings another chord into the song that we're trying to sing together this afternoon. These are not easy times. These are difficult times, and can art, and even as we look back in history, can art play a role in helping us to nurture hope? Like in particular, like in contrast to what we're hearing, like pandemic of loneliness, people are in despair, the the great sense of apathy and sadness, and on and the litany of that. Can art be a remedy? Whether and how do you see that? Whether you see that in a lesson in history or in your own life, how can art answer the call? How can art serve the moment?
Mm.
Actually, I would say that's twofold. In on one sense, the doing of art, as Lisa said, putting down whatever is what you need to express at that point in time so that you can get it out, and it's a way of expressing yourself. And on the other hand, it would be to view art and to appreciate it in a way that it would be hopefully uplifting, depending on the art, of course. But over the years, way back, the art that was done years ago was designed to either explain things or teach things, or like people didn't read or they didn't have access to that information, but the art conveyed a lesson. So that's the historical side of it. But in terms of people today, I really feel that if more people had access to some kind of art, whether it's sculptures walking down the street, museums, which a lot of people never go to, street art, even Banksy's stuff on the walls of New York, and actually spent time and looked at it and didn't just walk by and not even pay attention to it. That they might actually be able to put themselves in a spot where they can not analyze it, but relate to it, and perhaps get something out of it that they would never have gotten if they hadn't stopped and looked. I think part of the problem is we don't stop and look, we don't stop and listen, we don't stop and hear. Everybody's darting around, and art requires time to look at. to take it in. You don't just like walk by. You have to like sit and look at it, because you'll find different things in it all the time, no matter what the painting is or the sculpture is. So it's a time issue that people say, I don't have the time. But if we made the time, there might be a beneficial effect.
It's interesting as you're talking about that, Diane, I can't help but thinking of that art that just appears in the street. That those pianos
Mhm.
that are painted beautifully, and then people just sit there and play them in the middle of the street spontaneously. That um, uh, those could be that could be art serving the moment, because we do need to be stopped. We need to, it invites people into exactly the experience all three of you were talking about, which is you stop, you everything goes away and you enter into this other space.
Mhm.
And yeah. And Diane, you speaking of other artistic experiences, you also represent a Vivid Stage. You're the president of the board of trustees, and that's the visual arts.
Right.
Lisa, you've also served on that board for
Lisa
many.
was on the board. Yes.
So Diane, um, I just want to give an opportunity to give a shout out to Vivid Stage, because we many collaborations over the years, and we hope there'll be more more collaborations between Vivid Stage and Intuit, because it's such a spiritual company.
Yeah.
It really is. So if you and I think they do try to serve the community with their art. Would you want to tell us anything about the company and this anniversary year?
Yeah, 30 years. This is the 30th year, 24, 25. The work that we do, and obviously Lisa knows this as well, is basically new work, and it's work that I feel really speaks to either the moment or the heart or feelings or all three. Um, and the ensemble is a cast of actors that is always there. So if you go to see a performance, you'll see the same actors. And they're so versatile. But theater to me is just a wonderful art form, because there's where you can really get lost. I mean, you sit there and, the house is dark and you're focused on the stage and you're listening to the words. And I mean, I practically at the end of every play, I'm in tears because it just really gets you. And it's a wonderful way to not only understand things, but even to teach about certain feelings, or about how people relate to each other, or about how the world goes. Even it's so the theater part of art to me is also definitely has a spiritual side.
And even the comedy, I know that
Oh
Lisa
yeah.
is a big
I
proponent
love the
of
comedy.
the, uh, the
But
improv.
I want to say, Janet, that to me, the biggest thing about the theater, and Laura Estron, who's like wonderful, picks such interesting plays, and what comes out of that for me is conversation.
Mhm.
Always when I get done with whatever play they put on, there's always some way that kind of ticks me into asking people about how they feel about things. I
Right.
remember they did one about guns, and they did one
Mhm.
about, my favorite was Every Wonderful Thing, or whatever that was called.
Yeah.
Every Beautiful Thing. That one just, I have told that story so many times because it hit me so hard, about a mental illness.
Sure.
And so I think one of the things that the reason I was so intrigued with Vivid Stage is the theater that the kind of plays they pick.
Mhm.
And we're talking about community, so it's
Right.
interesting that they're a powerful company, precisely because whether they're doing drama or music or comedy, they're doing it together, and they're the
Right.
same people who are working together again and again, and they have a kind of a language when they work together. But recently there was a humorous improv, and I just want to note it because laughter, you know, we
Yes.
we need to cry and we need to laugh. I mean, laughter also gives us that experience of taking us out of ourselves. And
Right.
if you haven't, this is a blatant plug for Vivid Stage, Diane. If you haven't been to Vivid Stage, check it out in Summit, New Jersey. So this is a comedy, it's holiday show, and there's a kind of a iconic character that Laura brings back every year.
Candy cane,
Can- Candy Cane,
North Pole
North Pole,
therapist,
Therapist.
North Pole therapist.
North Pole therapist.
And what does Candy Cane say at the end? She said, you know, they use comedy to talk
Right.
about things that we have a hard time talk about
Yeah.
right now. And she
Mhm.
says, "That's it. I'm not going to let them steal Christmas." And we all knew that was a metaphor
Metaphor for
and such
you know who. Mhm.
release, such a release,
Mhm.
joy of joy. We're not going to let anybody steal our joy. Thank you, Candy Cane, North Pole therapist. So I'm going to ask you each the question that I've been asking every guest that we've had on in the various hours. What, where are you finding hope? Where are you finding hope
And community.
in community? Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think for me, since I just moved out of state, for me, it's friendships.
Mhm.
Lovely. Jody, where are you
Um,
hoping
I have a couple of communities that
Yeah.
bring me hope. I certainly my church community is foremost, and my pastel class. It's a tremendous little
It's
community
church.
of
It's
yeah, it
church.
is church. It's
It's
church.
church.
It's
Like
church with
Diane's
chalk.
art class is church.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes. And my family is
Mhm.
great. You know, we we are a very supportive family. We really don't have any major conflicts going on or anybody who's got, huge problems. So that's, things are going along nicely.
Mhm.
And that gives me hope. I think for all of us, I don't know about Lisa, but Diane and Janet, our adult children give me hope.
Mhm.
I think they're
Yes.
fantastic. They're all doing good things with
Good
their
things.
lives. And
Yes.
that's wonderful to see. That makes me so proud and so hopeful.
I agree. Yep. I agree. It's all those communities.
Yeah.
In various ways, and for different reasons, they give me hope.
Yeah.
And there's a million little things going on that you don't know about. We do this very tiny, tiny little thing with church in Westfield where we pick up bread
Mhm.
at two grocery stores and deliver it to different food banks. I didn't even know that was going on. And then you find out there's all these little things, people doing wonderful, wonderful stuff that gets no headlines, and it's small. So I understand why there's no headlines, but you find out how many people are doing really fine things with their time. And that's very hopeful.
You know,
Amen.
I want to ask you one more thing before you go because I can't not bring my mom into this conversation because we, you know, we're just this week there's been a lot of talk about the reopening of Notre Dame
Mhm.
and the artisans that
Ugh.
that came together for 5 years to work to bring back that sacred space. My
Mhm.
goodness. And what's incredible to me is people around the world from all, whether
Mm.
you're spiritual, not spiritual, Catholic, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Hindu, it doesn't matter. People know and have wanted that iconic sacred space to rise up like
Mhm.
the Phoenix, and it has, and it's thanks to those artisans. And I think of my, because it's not just, there are many mediums. We talked about the visual arts medium. We talked about the performing arts, but also the artisans. I mean, you all know my mom. She made beautiful things with her hands. And I always remember I was working on a project and she said to me, you have to know when it's done. Have to know when to stop.
Oh, that's huge.
That's huge
Huge,
for artists.
right?
Yep.
Because if you don't, um, the more like you say, when it's done, and then you move something and it's out of composition, or you move the whole thing, it was good and then it's not. So what wisdom? Like, I feel like there's a wisdom in all of the things that we've talked about today. There's the be here now, there's the make time for it, it's the create the space to do this, there's the sharing with others, and there's the art of making art. I'm really deeply grateful for all of you. Um, and I want to say thank you all. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Diane,
Thank you, Janet.
for
Thank you,
bringing
Jen.
beauty to the
Yeah.
world. A world that really, boy, we really need beauty.
Needs beauty.
We really need beauty. Thank you for nurturing hope.
Thank you, Interweave.
Yes.
Yep.
And maybe you can do a series on that artist thing because I need to.
I
Oh,
think we
yeah.
made an online commitment to
I think we
There you
might have
go.
to think about that, Janet.
made an
I'm
online
in.
commitment, and we have
I'm
three
in.
that are
Yeah.
interested. So we're pretty excited about this. Um, yeah, that was amazing. We need to keep beauty alive. We need to keep uncovering the sacred space, and getting people, like Diane said, to stop. I love that. To stop and see that beauty is here
Yeah.
and waiting for us to appreciate it, to see it. Um, thank you, artists,
Thank you.
for showing us the artist's way. And we're almost at the turn of the hour. And so I want to thank you all for coming. And we are going to get ready for another hour, and look for these three ladies there, I'm sure, and their work, which will be, I'm sure, showcasing somewhere, because they're amazing. All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Janet.